time to be alone. Kids distracted, wifey on the phone. Slip out the back door with my car keys. If I don't leave now, someone will try and find me. It's different. This time right now, solo. I have the perfect plan. Nowhere to go. Cruising down the highway, not doing more than 70.
Welcome to another episode of the If You Cook, I'll Clean podcast. I'm your host, Eli Breeden. Today, we have a treat in store for you. Trust me. He is a graduate of the University of South Alabama and Florida State University College of Law. He's currently in the real estate business and owns a real estate company, LaFleur Real Estate, LLC, in Mobile, Alabama. He's a proud member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. He's a published author, having written a 3-part book entitled Janet's Story, Part 1, Till Death Do Us Part, Janet's Story, Part 2. All that I have in Janet's Story, Part 3, Just Remember My Smile. LaFleur has also written a number of film series and produced an independent film several years back called Raw As You Wanna Be. What's going on, Q? What's good with you?
All right, Q. How you doing, Eli?
I'm doing good, brother. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm hanging in there, man. I'm doing pretty good.
Sounds
pretty
good,
Glad
man.
to be here.
Sounds good. What's going on down in Mobile, Alabama?
Man, it's hot. It is hot. It was almost 100 degrees today.
Oh, really?
Trying to stay out of this heat and stay cool, man.
Oh, wow. Is
Yeah,
it
man.
humid down there?
Well, we actually for the last week or two haven't had a lot of rain, so it's just been hot. Before
okay.
that, we were getting lots and lots of rain. Like in July, we were getting a lot of rain, but like in August, we really haven't had much rain, so it's just been hot. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good, man. I have a lot of questions today. Why don't you tell the audience a lot of things you have going on as far as your film production and your book?
Well, as far as the film Raw As You Want to Be, which was a film that I actually wrote and produced back in the 90s, I'm in the process of trying to get that onto one of the streaming platforms, hopefully maybe Tubi or something along those lines. I had to do some production work to it. I submitted the film, but I got to do a little bit of production, a little tweaking on it. And so I'm working with a lab right now to try to get that done. So hopefully maybe very soon, maybe that film will be out on one of the streaming platforms. And like I said, just recently I completed that 3-part book that I worked on for several years,
Yeah.
Janet's Story. So I completed that, and like I said, Janet's Story, Till Death Did Us Part, Janet's Story, Just Remember My Smile. Well, Part 2, I'm All That I Have, and Just Remember My Smile. That's a story about my journey as a caretaker, and of course, my mother struggled with Alzheimer's.
Right.
So that's something that I'm really excited about, and it's available on Amazon right now. I think there's one Janet Story,
Okay.
Till Death Did Us Part, and then Part 2, I'm All That I Have, and Part 3, Just Remember My Smile. So,
Great. And we'll put a description of all of those books below at the end of the show.
right.
So yeah,
Amazon.
a couple of things, and we'll talk about that some more. But a couple of things
Mhm.
that come to mind because I actually watched the movie, and we'll get into If You Cook, I'll Clean in a minute. But what I want to say to you is, I believe, right, and I'm using this term loosely because I don't necessarily want to insult you, right? But I believe you are a very underrated talent. And when I say that, I say it with compassion and conviction because when I watched that movie, right, I said to myself, there is no way that you shouldn't have been on Spike Lee's level by now. Because that was a movie that was produced in the 90s. And
Hmm.
those stories are still relevant to today. I mean, they're very, because not that I saw myself in any of the characters per se, but most men who have actually gone through something, especially when they're trying to figure out their way, when they're trying to find that one and they're filtering through all of their options. Those some of those characters in that book we can all relate to as men. And I don't want to give too much of it away. We'll have the description, below, and we'll, put all those tags in the podcast. But when we're trying to figure out that our way, it's always that one, right? And I have some stories in the book, right? It's always that one where the chick, let me rephrase that, the female who, you know, um, she may be a little bit emotional, right? She, and I don't want to use certain terms because I don't want people coming at me in the comments, but there's always that one, right? When you're trying to filter through your options who's just a little bit too overly emotional. And when I saw that character, right, and don't want to give too much of it away, but she ended up doing some really horrible things, to herself behind, this guy. But there's always that one man. But I just want to say to you that whenever you discover, right, who you truly are, I'm not denying that you haven't because you're very successful as an attorney, as a real estate developer, and all of those things. But filmmaking and writing, to me, uh, is where you belong, and I'm glad I'm having the opportunity to be a part of your story. So let's get into it, Q. So,
Well,
you,
thank you, Eli. I appreciate that.
anytime. So what was your opinion of the book, If You Cook Out Clean?
First of all, I love the book. I mean, I told you earlier, I said I wanted to have a copy of it in my hand when we
Right.
talked about this. But I love the cover. I like the cover. I like the colors. I don't know if I don't know if there's anything maybe resembling our
To some
fraternity
degree,
color,
to some degree, it's
but
not
I
quite
do.
old gold, but it's close
Yeah,
enough.
it's close enough, and
Yeah.
I really like the colors. It's a nice book. And another thing I do like about it is
It
that the
comes in a
story.
hard copy too, Q, just in
Oh,
case.
really? Oh, really? Well,
Absolutely.
I didn't get the hard copy. I didn't
Okay.
get the hard copy. I
Okay.
just got the. I got this is what I got. This is what you gave me here.
Okay.
The paperback here.
Okay.
And one thing I will say is that it's the story. The chapters are very short and concise,
Right.
and that's I like that. That's one of the things I like about
Okay.
it. And now at one point I got a little confused
Uh-huh.
because it apparently like in each chapter
Mm-hmm.
you're having different customers. Like, so I was a little confused because at first I'm thinking we got one customer and the customers, and then it was kind of like, wait a minute, hold up, wait a minute, hold up.
Mm-hmm.
This seems like somebody else.
Right.
And so I had to kind of get acclimated to that.
Right.
That you were that each, like, basically maybe in one chapter you
Mm-hmm.
had like maybe 4 or 5 customers that were talking to the barber at one time.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, I really enjoyed the book. It's like I said, it's concise. The chapters are very short, and you've got like each chapter is you kind of cover a different genre, so to speak,
Right.
of and it's definitely from a male perspective. It's definitely
Absolutely.
from a male perspective. And
Absolutely.
I have to say too, it's kind of um I guess it's kind of interesting when you know the author as well.
Right.
So you're wondering like how much is this is really coming, I know you said that okay, let me backtrack real quick. Talk about Raj You Want to Be real quick.
Uh-huh.
Okay, Raj You Want to Be.
Uh-huh.
Now, that film that I did
Right.
at that point in time, I was hanging out with a lot of Kappas. Okay,
Right.
so I will say that.
Right.
I was hanging out with a lot of
I,
Kappas,
I can see that.
but everything in that movie is real life. I mean, it's like
Absolutely.
everything in there was like something that somebody told me. Like with a guy, maybe a friend of mine or whatever, said, "Hey, you know what happened? Like yada yada yada." Okay, so basically, if you cook out clean, it's very similar to that.
It is.
I mean, as an author, you're saying that basically these are stories that were related to you by male friends of yours
Mm-hmm.
and ideas and experiences. And so I think that's what really makes the book a lot fresher and a lot more real, you
Okay.
know.
Okay.
And
Sounds good.
so but I enjoyed it. I mean, of course, it's kind of written from a male perspective,
Yeah.
and it's pretty obvious that females are your target audience.
Right.
So, you know, so yeah, so that's pretty obvious. But there is for the guys, there's something there also as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. So,
But I do like the way you grouped each. You're very organized in terms of your chapters and how your chapters are organized, and how you basically you discuss certain things. What you won't do. Chapter 3. I mean, you've got um, like chapter 4, for instance, and then in the back you have the end of chapter exercises.
hmm
Which I found that to be very interesting. You've also got suggestions. Like okay, so if you're dealing with this particular issue or whatever the case may be, this might be something that you might want to do. That's interesting. So then forget me not. Chapter 4, and it goes on and on. Chapter 5, holding me hostage, et cetera, et cetera. Chapter
hmm
6, what do bad guys? Why do bad guys have all the fun?
and we're going
And
to
on.
talk about that too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But like I said, it's organized and it's concise. The chapters are very they're not long chapters.
Not at
Um,
all.
you stick to your thoughts. So we know what we're looking at within each particular chapter, and I like that. I like the
That's
way you
good.
have
I
it.
appreciate that. And I knew you, from an attorney's perspective, would look at it uh, from an analytical space, if you will. I knew you would be able to break it down. But to preface, how the book was constructed, the publishing company at the time advised that I chopped that book in half. So what you're seeing, let me explain. So the book was written. It took about 18 years, right? So I had a lot more stories.
Mm.
However, the book was actually published during the pan during the pandemic,
During the
or
pandemic, yeah.
or a little bit, I should say, after the pandemic was over, 2000 and I want to say 22. But anyway, it was suggested by the publishing company that I chop it in half because people were getting back acclimated to work. They were getting back acclimated to real life, and it was suggested that folks don't have a whole lot of time to be reading, books or what have you. So I took their suggestion, and honestly, Q, I'm glad that I did because, as you mentioned, it's precise and it's to the point at the end of the day. And for those who, you know, love to read, for those who don't necessarily like to read a whole lot, it's It's something for everybody. So let me ask you this: as a single man, right? Um, what have been some of your challenges as it relates to dating?
Oh boy, that's a good question.
I mean, you are
I
single,
think,
correct?
I
When
think,
you're
I think,
not
I
married,
think, really,
you're single.
I think really the biggest challenge is finding, quality. You look in terms of quality as opposed to quantity. You
Okay.
know, um, I guess that I'm at a kind of at a point in my life where I'm just it's a woman's got to have a little bit of substance.
Okay.
I'm just not interested in, you know, I mean, yeah, sure, a nice butt, nice ass is fine. I hope I'm not,
You can say
using
whatever
profanity,
you want to say on here, Q.
nice
I think we
body,
good on time. I don't think you can cuss the first
a
5 minutes, but I
pretty
think we
pretty
good.
face, a nice body, and all that. Is great. That's
Okay.
great. But I'm a man who at this point in my life, I need a woman of substance. You know,
Hmm.
Certainly not to sacrifice some of those other things,
Right.
but you know, um, I'm kind of more attuned and more acclimated to, and I've really always kind of been like that. Like I even tell my boys sometimes, like I would rather have um, an average looking woman with a great personality than a
Hmm.
drop dead gorgeous looking woman with no personality.
Right.
You know, so I've always been like a guy who really prefers a woman with substance. A woman who's, yeah, I mean, certainly attractive, but who's got a great personality, who's intelligent, and who I can really talk to. You know, and who I can vibe with. So, as far as that goes, sometimes, I mean, to be straight up with you, it's like sometimes I'll go out and I really almost hate to say this, but it's true. Sometimes I'll go out and I'll see a female that I may think she's kind of cute or whatever, and I'll get her number just for the hell of it, just to get her number. I won't even call
Hmm.
her. It's just like the thrill of the chase. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, at some point, and I'm really more so concerned with like a long-term relationship and not just short-term gratification. Not just trying to get into somebody's pants necessarily. Um, just been there and done that already.
Right.
I'm a different man now. I'm an older, I'm more mature, and my vision and my um, mindset is a little different from the way it used to be. You know,
Right.
you right.
So would you say the challenges are is it's difficult to find that authenticity with certain females in terms of, just being real. And when I say that, I mean not to knock anybody because we respect everybody on this show. Whatever you want to do, whatever you want to be, we respect that. But like some women who wear like the fake lashes, they wear the fake hair, they get all this work done to their body to, try to enhance or make themselves to appear or to be a certain way. Are you saying that it's difficult to filter through those type of females when you're trying to find that authentic woman?
Well, I think you can you kind of get to a point as a man where you can pretty much decipher pretty quickly. Um, at least I feel like I can, pretty quickly, who you're dealing with, who you're talking to, and what's on this woman's mind. You
Okay.
know, it doesn't take a whole lot of time. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
And how do you determine that, by the way?
certainly,
Not that
conversation,
I don't already know the answer.
certainly
Just for the
conversation.
audience.
just to see, what's on a woman's mind, what she's really talking about, and and how she, relates to you as a person, as a man.
Hmm.
Yeah. So it definitely, and also knowing how to ask the right questions,
Oh, okay.
knowing how to ask the right questions to see what type of responses you get,
And
you
what
know.
would be some of those questions, if I may ask?
Oh boy. Oh, that's a good one. I mean, well, certainly I think in any conversation you just kind of go with the flow, but certainly I think it's very important to listen. We talk about asking questions,
Right.
but it's also just very important to listen. You know, give her a chance to talk and see what she's talking about. See, I like to listen to the things that I like to listen to and listen for, or sometimes we'll talk about her previous relationships. You
Hmm.
know, um,
And what are you listening for exactly?
just to see how she describes those relationships. It's kind of like you ever met a woman who every ex of hers is a crazy ex. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's to me that's a red flag. It's like, every man you've dated is not a crazy ex. Okay, maybe you're the one who's crazy. Okay, so what? I'm next, right? I'm the next crazy ex. I mean, I'm just saying, you just really listen to what a woman's got to say. You know what I'm saying? And how she talks about her life, what she says about her life, what she says about, her goals. I mean, what she says about what she wants out of life, and where her head's at. I mean, that's like what I'm really, really, listening to. That's what I really want to, what's her relationship to God? I mean, what's her relationship? Is she religious? Is she, does she go to church? I mean, does she, how does she conduct herself? Is she always talking about how she's in the club, this and this and that, or what happened in the club, or is she talking about work? Where are her values? You know what I'm saying? I mean, what are her values? I mean, does she have children? What is her relationship with her children? If does she have children? Does she not have children? All those things.
And you
Just to
okay
really,
with dating women who have kids?
well, yeah. I mean, I have kids. I mean, I
Okay.
have kids, so I'm fine with dating women who have kids. Yeah. hmm
Okay.
But now the issue is that, sometimes you talk to these females, and it's like they have kids, and their kids are grown. You know what I'm
Uh huh.
saying? But it's like they're still so involved, like these single females, and they're still so involved, overly involved in their kids' life, that it's like this woman has grown children, and she treats these kids like they're still, in grammar school or something.
Hmm.
And obviously this woman has no time for me. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And I'm not getting ready, I'm not getting ready to deal with that. Just let me next, time to
Right.
move on.
Now, have you
You know what
dealt
I'm
with
saying?
that before in the past?
Yeah, of course I have been in situations like that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I was just wondering. Okay. So, do you see somewhat of a trend like with some of these like single women who are like self-sufficient and they just feel like they don't need a man? Do you see a trend in the dating market with
I'm
that?
glad I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up, because there's a common term that's very loosely used these days, and it's called toxic masculinity.
Okay.
I don't really know what that is. I don't really know what toxic masculinity is. Okay, I think it's just a
It's a new
negative way
term that
to
every
describe
day,
males,
Q.
you know.
Uh,
But I think when you get into these females who uh have this attitude like, hey, I don't need a man, I think that's really we need a new term, and that's toxic femininity.
oh.
you know it's toxic femininity. It's like a woman who basically, um is married to her career, and she
Okay.
feels like just because she's got a job and just because she's got some income coming in, that she doesn't need, like, because that goes back into the whole mindset of, well, what is a man for? A man is to support me financially. But a man is a lot. I mean, what about whatever happened to companionship?
Hmm.
Whatever happened to just having somebody in your life? Whatever happened to um, supporting one another? I mean, and I'm not talking about financially. I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah, financially, but I'm saying supporting each other spiritually, mentally. Um, whatever happened to that? So because what if every man took the attitude? Because hey, let's face it, most men do not need a woman to to support them. Okay, most men are self-sufficient. Most men have, there are many men out here who have their own jobs, who make more than enough money to take care of themselves, who have their own homes, own cars, et cetera, et cetera. They do not need any financial support from any female. Okay. So what we as men want is, we want a companion. We want a friend. We want someone to talk to. We want someone to spend time with. We want someone to make love to. We want someone to be a part of our life. We want someone to take care of. So, when you get to a point where you have a female who's like, hey, I got a job, I got a house, I got a car, I got money, I don't need a man, there's something wrong with that mindset. Something's wrong with that. And like I said, I think we need to develop a new term. And I think that term needs to be toxic femininity, because that's toxic. That is basically you saying that the only thing that you would need a man for would be to take care of you financially. You don't need companionship. You don't need love. You don't need a partner. You don't need someone to make love to. You don't need someone to hold at night when you go to bed. You don't need anybody to talk to. You just view a man as somebody to pay your bills, put a roof over your head, and finance your life. And if you don't, if a man's not doing that, then you don't need him. That's like I said, as far as I'm concerned, that's toxic femininity. That's toxic femininity.
Well, guys, you
I'm
heard
coining,
it here
I'm coining a
first.
new term.
You heard it here first. That phrase was developed, not developed, but it was first mentioned on this show. So anybody
Yeah,
who want to
yeah,
use that term, they gotta come see us. They
that's
gotta
right.
come
But
see
but I
us.
mean, but
Toxic
I mean, really,
femininity.
and I think so, too many women are caught up into that thing, because being a career woman, having a job, I mean, there's no substitute for companionship. There's no substitute for companionship. There's no substitute for, and another thing I wanted to mention too. I was reading just last night about a professional basketball player. Uh, I can think of his name, but I won't mention it on here. But
No names.
they were talking about how this basketball player used to go to this restaurant, very popular restaurant, where a lot of celebrities and athletes went. And there was a waitress there at the restaurant, you know, and he fell in love with the girl, and he kept, pursuing her, asking her out, et cetera, et cetera. And, first she really wasn't interested. And then basically they ended up, dating and getting married and the whole 10 yards. And, there's and I think I've heard this statement before, that, so here we have this man who's, probably very well, relatively wealthy, multimillionaire, professional basketball player. And, he falls in love with a waitress, you know. So we have this woman who's working as a waitress, probably making, pennies on the dollar you know, and now all of a sudden, because of him, she has now become a multimillionaire as well. And how's that old saying go? Like, okay, how's the saying go that Jay-Z could walk into McDonald's and see Beyonce working in McDonald's. Beyonce might not be a singer or whatever. Jay-Z would fall in love with Beyonce, and Jay-Z would marry Beyonce, and then Beyonce would, obviously be on Jay-Z's level. But if Jay-Z worked at McDonald's and Beyonce came into McDonald's, there's no way that Beyonce would ever marry Jay-Z
You don't think so?
if he wasn't Jay-Z and he
You don't
worked at
think
McDonald's.
that's a possibility?
Well, I mean that's the saying, So I think it goes back to that whole mindset, I think that women definitely look for men who are on a higher level than they are
Absolutely. I
socioeconomically.
believe that entirely.
And I think there's a word for it. I can't think of that word right now, but
Don't ask me to think of
hypergamous,
it.
hypergamous,
That's it.
hypergamous, I believe is the
Now,
word.
hypergamy, I believe.
Hypergamy,
I believe
hypergamy.
that's what it's called.
Yeah. But as I said before, yet and still, sure, there may be some idea that the more successful a woman gets, the more difficult it is for her to find men that she feels like are on her level.
Hmm.
But by the same token, as I said before, to get to this point where you have a little money, you got your own house, you got your own car, etc., and you've reached the idea that you don't need a man. As I said before, that's in my opinion, and we're gonna coin that term today, toxic femininity.
That's good, dog. That's good. I mean, and as you were describing that particular scenario, I was imagining. I don't like mentioning names on this show, man, but I was imagining Beyonce going through the drive-through and Jay Z actually serving her at the window. Um, so let's get into the next question. So why do you think bad boys have all the fun?
Well, now that's a good question. That's a good question.
Because that's one of the chapters in the book.
Yeah, yeah. That is a good question, and of course, I guess the first thing that comes to mind for me at least, for me, whenever you think about the whole bad boy concept, is Happy Days and the Fonz. It's like the Fonz was like the proverbial bad boy. You know, I mean, for yes, certainly for Happy Days. I mean, he was a clean bad boy. You know what I'm saying? But he rode a bike. You know what I'm saying? He was a mechanic. The way he dressed with the leather coat. Usually the white tee. Et cetera, et cetera. He was cool. He had all the women. But the Fonz to me was like the proverbial bad boy of the '50s, so to speak. Um, and so it's I don't know, for some reason, whenever I hear that term bad boy, it's like the first thing that comes to my mind is like the Fonz. But
You just let the audience know how old you are, dog. But go ahead.
certainly though, certainly, nowadays we have a whole different level of bad boys. I mean, of course, if you look at the Omegas, for instance, um, some of the bros may not like me saying this, but
Yeah, being one of them.
the fact of the matter
So
is
be
that
careful.
our fraternity has
Hmm.
that image, that bad boy image,
Okay.
as opposed to some of the other fraternities out there.
Okay.
Um, you know, when you think of the Kappas, so to speak, that they kind of have that. Oh, the Kappas are pretty boy. It's as far as females are concerned. If
Uh-huh.
you ask the average female, you say, well, what is your perception? The Kappas are pretty boys. They're players. Oh, what about the alpha? Well, the alphas, they're intellectual. They're into their books. They're scholars. Well, what about the sigmas? Well, I don't know. I don't really know. The sigmas are the sigmas.
Mhm.
And then of course, not to make fun or light of any fraternity.
No, we're not doing that on this
we're,
show.
we're definitely not doing that. But
No.
like I said, the Qs definitely have, of all the fraternities, I think they have that kind of bad boy image that I don't think that we necessarily see ourselves as that way, but I think that a lot of females see the omegas at that way. I've had females tell me, oh, I used to go to the omega parties, but I stopped going because they got into a fight at the party and I got hit in the head, this type thing. So
That was
definitely
just a misunderstanding, I'm sure.
so definitely I think that that's as far as the females are concerned, that we kind of have that image. But now, so let's talk about this whole idea of bad boys. I have read that a lot of females like bad boys because bad boys are more fun. They're
Mhm.
a little more rough around the edges, and they feel safer with the bad boys. They feel like the bad boy is the one who might fight for them, who might protect them, who keeps them on that emotional roller coaster. It keeps them feeling certain types of ways, ups and downs in the relationship, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what I've read at any rate. Um, One thing I will say though is that if we look at the younger females, if we look at younger women now, to me it seems that young black women, I'm talking about like in their late teens and early 20s, have lowered the bar for black men so low that it's really sad. It's really sad. Um, it's almost like the nice guys, the nice young black men, they can't even get a date nowadays,
Mhm.
because these young black women like I said, they have lowered the bar so low for black men, and in terms of the type of men that they're looking at, they won't even date like a nice, clean cut, guy who's got his, on track, trying to get in college, working, going to school full time. They won't even fool with a guy like that. They'll date a drug dealer. They'll date, a guy who's in and out of jail, et cetera, et cetera. And it's just really sad. I remember I was I was at the gas station one day. I was at the gas station one day. And there were these two young ladies. I mean, they were probably in their early 20s, whatever. And this guy comes walking up, and so I mean they were nice looking young ladies, and this guy comes walking up. He's very disheveled. His clothing. I mean, his hair. He had these little plaits in his head, and he just didn't look. I mean, I can't. I don't want. I don't. I can't really describe it. He just looked like he was probably a drug dealer. Like
Mhm.
he looked like he definitely didn't have a job.
Right.
Like he probably didn't work.
Right.
And he just walked right up to this young lady. I mean, really attractive young lady. Walked right up to her, started talking to her, got her number. And then one thing I specifically remember him asking her was, he said, "Where do you work?" And she said, "Oh, I work at Walmart." And she didn't even ask him where he worked.
Mhm.
It's like she knew he didn't have a job. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? It's like she knew he was a drug dealer.
Right.
It's like so we're saying now, and I'm thinking to myself, wow. So this young lady, this young man comes up to her, and he, talks with her, gets her phone number. Clearly they're making plans. She's letting him know, like, hey, this is a good time to call me. This is a good time, for if you want me to go out with you. This is when I'm able to go out with you, et cetera, et cetera. She's clearly making it clear to this guy that she'll go, she wants to go out with him. She wants to talk to him. She's expecting to hear from him. She wants to go out with him. He says to her, "Where do you work?" It's like he wants to know that she's got a job. And she's clearly like, "Oh, yeah, I got a job. I work at Walmart." She didn't even ask his brother where he worked. She didn't even ask him. And because I'm listening to the conversation and I'm observing, and and like I said, it's really something. It's really sad because we're when we talk about older women, but when we look at this younger generation and we see like our nice young black men who are about something, who are not out here selling drugs, who are not out here in and out of jail, who are really have their lives together and who are really trying to go somewhere with their lives. A lot of these young men are having a hard time um, getting dates and dealing with black females. A lot of these young men are feeling alienated. A lot of these young men feel like they have to go and date white women, date white girls.
Mm.
That's the only way they're going to get a date. Because really, it has really gotten. This young culture is something. It's really something else, you
So
know.
what do you think
And these girls
influences that?
and these young girls are having babies by these guys.
Yeah.
And and I was reading something. A couple days ago, and it was saying like, after these girls, these women go out and these bad boys have used them up and gotten them,
Mm-hmm.
given them children they're not planning on taking care of, and they've gone through all the hassle of dealing with this proverbial bad boy, and now all of a sudden they decide, hey, you know what? I'm tired of this. I want to get me a nice guy. They're saying, hey, don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
This was like a message to the men.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, don't do it. You
Mm-hmm.
know, don't damaged people need to be with damaged people.
Absolutely.
You know, don't pick up the scraps. You know,
Absolutely.
like when you were young, fine, and you had it going on, you didn't even want to deal with me. Now I'm not talking about me
I
necessarily,
know
but
what you're saying.
you didn't want to deal with me. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? You wanted this dude who was in and out of prison.
Mm-hmm.
You were busy running behind him. You were busy sitting around with his baby, waiting on him to see if he was going to get out and take care of you and the baby, and then only for him to get out and realize that he wasn't had no plans on taking care of you or his
Uh-huh.
kid.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden you want to run to the nice guy
Yeah.
or the decent man, so to
Uh-huh.
speak, and you want him to take care of you. You want him to take care of your baby. You want him to deal with all this, and they're like, don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do it. You wouldn't even give me the time of day. Back then. But now you're all over me. It's kind of ridiculous. It's kind of ridiculous. But what I'm saying though too is that what I'm seeing, and like I said, there certainly um, we have this culture, this youth, our youth, and what I'm seeing right now is really it's scary. It's
Mm-hmm.
scary. Um, and I'm glad I don't have any daughters.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad I don't have any daughters, but I have children. I have boys. I have 5 boys,
Mm-hmm.
and I've seen like where some of my boys are dating white girls.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them I have relationships with other young men. I'm saying when I say young men, I mean like say in their 20s, so to
Right.
speak.
Right.
And and a lot of these young black guys are dating white women.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, why are you, what's the deal? And a lot of these guys will tell you, hey, the sisters won't give me, they won't even give me the time of day.
Right.
They won't talk to me. They don't like me,
Mm-hmm.
because they're so busy running after these drug dope boys and these guys who are in and out of jail and all this kind of stuff. So it's something serious going on right now in our and you even got these young black women who are on the fast career track, who are still trying to date these dope boys and date um, these proverbial bad boys, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just they won't, like, some guys who have a regular job, they won't even date him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? What, you got a regular job? What am I going to do with that? Like, I need somebody with some drug money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I need somebody who's gonna break me off some money for these nails and for this hair. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's just it's really sad. It's really sad what's going on right now in with young culture. It's really sad. It really is. You know.
Hmm. And I think, during our generation, dog, it was completely different.
It
Like
was. It
at the
was.
very minimum, you had to have a job. I mean, to
Yeah.
even get a little bit of action. Like even
It
in
was.
high school, I remember, like, there's no need to even try to have a girlfriend if, you didn't have a job.
Yeah.
Even if it was a part-time job.
Exactly.
I've been working ever since I was maybe 13, 14 at a summer camp that my family you owned, like a Bible camp. So, I've always worked, but I would never even think about having a conversation with the female without a job. And that
Yeah.
was the base, like the foundation of how you moved. And that's what we were taught by our parents. But it seems like now it's in total reverse. Like the least that you have, the more attractive you've become. The least attractive you are as a man, the more attractive you
Right.
are to some
That's what
people.
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, dog.
Right.
I mean, and and I don't understand it. I don't understand it.
It's
I
crazy
really don't.
because, you know, these days having a suit on is like you're an alien in some environments. I've
Yeah.
even been in situations where folks might even mock me for, being clean cut. I'm sorry. And the bros, we're multi-dimensional. We can switch it up. We can switch it on and off. When it's time for us to handle our business, we do that. And whenever it's time to, come out of our shell, if you will, we can do that as well. But yeah, I see that too often, man, in this generation. And like you mentioned, it's scary.
And I don't know, maybe hip hop music has a lot to do with that.
That's what I was asking you about
You know,
the influence that you think.
I mean, maybe hip hop music has a lot to do with that.
Uh huh.
But like I said, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. And I've seen it with I've talked to a lot of young men who,
Mm-hmm.
say the same thing, like, hey, why you only date white women? Well, because black black girls don't like me, you
Right.
know. They won't give me the time of day.
Right.
Now, you have to take that kind of like with a grain of salt. It's kind of like, really, does it really that black girls don't like you, or is it maybe you don't like black girls, black
I
women?
mean, I can see both sides, to be honest with you, because
Yeah,
the scenarios that you're describing, I've seen it, Q. Like I
yeah,
really have. Like I've seen some decent guys who are about their business. They're trying to be progressive in life, and some of the black females, they just not feeling them because
right.
they just don't present that image that the media is feeding them, on a daily basis, saying to them, this is what you should be attracted to. You know what I mean? They get these images, fed to them, and it's ingrained in their mind. Like this is what the same way we see beauty and how we define beauty is the same for them. Like a lot of those images are pushed on us. I mean, I'm different now, than I was when I was, much younger, teenage years, and even, as a young adult. Beauty isn't the same for me. Like I'm attracted to intelligence.
Right. That's exactly that's what I was saying to you earlier. I mean, it's like, yeah, it's nice, nice butt, nice breasts,
Uh-huh.
beautiful face, all that's wonderful. But
Right.
at the end of the day, what does a woman have any substance? Is she
Absolutely.
intelligent? Can she sit down and really have a conversation? An intelligent conversation. You know,
Absolutely.
Now, if she's got all those other things too, and she can have an intelligent conversation, that's great. But you know what I'm saying? It's not all about that. And especially at this particular age that I'm
Right.
at. I'm not, it's just I'm very, very concerned more so about substance, someone who I can relate to, someone who I can get along with, someone who I enjoy spending time with, someone I enjoy being around, and someone who's got, conversation and also um, somebody's spirit, like
Mm-hmm.
someone who does not really just doesn't really necessarily have an argumentative spirit.
Yeah.
I don't like being around nobody who just wants to argue all the time.
The older you get,
You
man,
know.
it's like the more peace you desire.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, it's not
exactly.
about a piece of, you know, you know, tail. You know what I'm saying? It's more of peace of mind.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Oh
Tito,
yeah.
which cameras should I speak to? Because I just had a moment, a Holy Spirit moment. Which camera is this one? So here we go, right here. Young man, if you're listening to this show, don't you ever compromise who you are for any female. Do never reduce yourself to what she believes you should be. You always rise above that. And whoever God desires you to be with, that's who you're going to be with, man. Don't settle for less because she will reduce you to the point where you will become less than God intended for you to become, and you'll be left out here alone. So continue being progressive, continue being positive. Having a job is good, going to school is good, developing a trade is good, increasing your income is good. Focus on all of those things that you need to focus on to make yourself more valuable. And once you get to the point where you're increasing your where you're increasing your value, everything will be at your disposal. Don't settle for less, man. Don't ever compromise who you are to try to fit into a relationship. That's all I
Amen.
got.
Amen. Amen. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Sounds good.
Better
So
myself.
now, because we can stay on that bad boy subject forever, we even talk about this, even the times that I spent down in Mobile, working down there, we had plenty of these conversations. So let me ask you this. Could you see yourself actually, out of all of the topics that we discuss, could you see yourself actually getting married again?
Yeah, I
You
could.
can? Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
We need
Yeah.
you to expand on that.
Well, I've been married once. I
Okay.
was married for 20 years almost.
Okay.
And actually I've been divorced for almost 20 years.
Oh, it's
Guess I'm
been that long?
so I'm telling my age now. Well,
Oh,
not
wow.
well, let's put it like this. My ex-wife and I, we haven't been together. It's been about 20 years since we've been together.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Divorced or?
it's been about 11 years since we've been
Okay.
divorced.
Okay. Okay.
So, you know,
Clean it
of
up,
course,
dog, because somebody might see this show. we gonna say 20 years. He been divorced 20 years now, y'all. He been
yeah,
divorced 20 years. That's what we gonna
yeah.
say.
And of course, right at the time when me and my ex-wife split up, that's when I realized that my mother was starting to develop signs of Alzheimer's.
Mm,
And of course, so for several years, I cared for her. And, at that point, I really wasn't in a position to, I mean, I dated people, here and
mm,
there, but I didn't really get in any serious relationships with anybody because I don't know, really, really, really the one person that I really did kind of date the most and was probably the most serious with, her mother had Alzheimer's.
mm-hmm,
So, like I said, it was kind of like we had our little therapy group where, she would talk to me about what she was going through. I would talk to her about what I was dealing with. And so that was kind of like our connection. And she would help me with my mother and I would help her with her mother, etc. So, there was a time when I really felt like, nobody's really going to understand what I'm doing, what I'm dealing with, what I'm going through. And I would really not even want to get into this into a position where I really care about somebody, and I'm trying to get them to understand me and my life and what I'm dealing with, and they not understand. I just didn't even want to go there spiritually, mentally, to just risk putting myself out there like that, and then finding that I'm dealing with someone who just has zero understanding. Because I realized like early on that, unless you're really, when it comes to like something like that, like Alzheimer's and stuff like that, unless you've experienced it, or unless you've maybe had a loved one or cared for a loved one, you you don't really have an understanding of what a caretaker is going through, and what a
Mm-hmm.
caretaker may be experiencing in a day or in a week.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's hard to understand, and that's understandable. That's understandable that it's not easy to understand what somebody's dealing with. But I think to be in a situation where you're not understood, and you really have feelings for someone, and you really want them to understand you, and they're not. I just really wasn't even trying to go there like that with somebody. And so, mind you, so that was several years of my life when I was divorced, and I was just devoted to trying to take care of my mom and make sure my mom was straight. And then, of course, after my mom passed away, there was kind of like a period that I went through where I was just doing me, just really on a real selfish streak. I did not want any kind of serious relationship. I didn't want anybody making any demands on me. It didn't want anybody expecting anything from me or of me. um I was gonna just doing me, whatever I wanted to do. It's like I felt like I had been in the trenches. I had cared for my ailing mother, my aging mother, and I did what I had to do, and now it was time for me to just be myself. And if someone wanted to come into, and I did date somebody during that time, and for 3 years. And and we that was kind of like a problem, an issue, because I think she really wanted a more of a serious relationship with me, and it was just like, hey, I'm doing me. I mean, we talk, whatever, we hook up, we go out, we spend time together, we make love, whatever. But just understand that, A, I'm not getting married. I'm not about to get married. And B, if something comes across my mind and I feel like doing it, like if I feel like going out of the country, if I feel like traveling, if I, what if I even if I meet somebody else and I feel like sleeping with them, I mean, it's gonna I'm not even gonna take you into consideration like that. And I don't mean to be like, what I'm saying, like, I know what it's like to be in a committed relationship. I know what it's like to be in a marriage. I
Mm-hmm.
know what it's like to be in a committed relationship. And I know what this particular person wanted. But I clearly told her, like, hey, you know what, you got to understand something. I've been taking care of a parent with Alzheimer's for the last 10 years, and I'm doing me. Now, if you want, you know really, what I think you might want to do is just leave me alone.
Mm-hmm.
But if you really want to be a part of my life, just understand that there may be times when I'm going to do me, and I'm not going to sit back and be like, well, how is this going to affect her? Like, how's she going to feel about this? She might not like this. I really don't care,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And so for a while, that was kind of like the mindset that I was in, and that was how I was living my life. And like I said, that person was a part of my life for like 3 years, and we dated, and very, very sweet person, loving person. I think she cared a lot about me. Um, and and that's another thing about that whole bad boy thing. That's another thing about that whole bad boy thing. I think that females deep down inside, seem to gravitate more to a man who does not really cater to them in a certain way.
Hmm.
Um, and see, that was the thing. Like, I'm not a bad boy per se.
Right.
I don't consider myself a bad boy.
Right.
But just like even during that particular relationship, it wasn't about, but it was that attitude. It was that
Mm-hmm.
mindset. Like, hey, I'm doing me. Okay,
Right.
I'm not concerned about you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, I am concerned about you, but you know, I might hurt your feelings. And if I do, tough. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? You live with it and you deal with it. If you don't want to deal with me anymore, that's cool. If you do, that's cool too. It is what it
Mm-hmm.
is. I'm not living my life for how you feel. I'm not living my life for like, I'm living my life for me. And I think that's another mindset that a lot of the bad boys have. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that, I think a lot of females just gravitate to that mindset. It's kind of like wanting to tame the bad boy, so to speak. It's like you
Mm-hmm.
you think, well, he's this way, but and that's an and let me while we're on that, I think I open up another can of worms.
Okay. You can open
Okay.
them, dog.
I think I've opened up another can of
You
worms
can open
because
them.
I think that I think a lot of women, and this kind of goes to the whole bad boy thing. I think a lot of women look at men like projects.
Hmm.
Like they meet a man and they're like, well, I like this, and this about him, but I don't like this, and this.
Hmm.
But I'm going to change all those things.
Hmm.
I'm going to change. And see, the fact of the matter is that you can't change anybody.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody changes, they're going to change for themselves. They're going to change. You may be able to reason with the person, and you may be able to try to make a man, and that's a good thing. A woman who can encourage a man and motivate a man, and through love and through inspiration to be a better man. That's
That's
um
different from
you
trying to
know
change him, though.
exactly,
Yeah, that's
exactly,
much different.
exactly.
Because
That's
when you
very,
try
very
to change a man, all you're doing is irritating him and pushing him
exactly,
away. And you just
exactly,
making him better for the next woman. That's all
exactly,
you're doing.
exactly,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. So you don't change anybody.
Right.
And like I said before, motivating someone, inspiring someone to be a better person, to be a better man for you, for the relationship, for yourself. That's, man, that when you get a woman like that, that's a gem. That's a
Absolutely.
gem. When you get a woman who can do that in your life, but a woman who just is bent on like, okay, these are the things I like about you, these are the things I don't like about you, and so I'm gonna just chip away at you,
Mm-hmm.
until you become the man that I want you to be. And no, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, because by that
Not
time, they not going to want your ass no more anyway. After
exactly,
you then did all those modifications, you done made him great and superlative for
exactly,
somebody else. That's all
exactly,
you're doing. So, Q,
exactly.
um, let us know once again all the projects you have going on. I know you mentioned it in the beginning part of the podcast, but tell us again the different projects that you have going on with Janet's story. That was about your mother, right?
Absolutely. So let me just, in closing, in
Uh
reference
huh.
to your last question,
Sure.
yes, I'm definitely considering getting married again.
Okay.
So,
Well,
you know,
ladies, you all heard it. We got a successful attorney, real estate agent, an author, and a filmmaker, and he is soon to be, if not rich. So, ladies, we'll have all of his information in the description below. And we'll add your Facebook and your Instagram and all of that stuff, so folks will know how to contact you to purchase the book, as well as be able to see the film um, whenever it's on those platforms.
great.
Yep. But go ahead, dog. What were you saying about Janet's story?
Well, as I said before, I talked a little bit about, my experience being a caretaker for my mother, my aging mother who had Alzheimer's. And, that was a real pivotal point in my life. Having just gotten a divorce and more or less becoming an unmarried man,
Mm.
and then sort of finding myself thrust into a situation where, I'm all of a sudden now inundated with caring for my mother, aging mother who had Alzheimer's, not wanting to put her into the hospital, not I mean into a nursing home,
Right.
and and that experience, I think it really affected me in a lot
Mm.
of ways. Um, and I think that it was somewhat of a painful experience. It was rewarding. It was a rewarding experience because certainly that was part of my purpose in this world. I mean, I'm sure that that was part of my purpose, why I'm here and why I was here. Um, but so it was rewarding, but it was also somewhat painful having to go through that, to see somebody that you love regressing, um, forgetting, not able to remember certain things, talking about family members that were dead like they're still alive,
Mm.
um, not knowing what day it is or what time it was, or even what city they're in or what state they're in,
Mm.
um, kind of becoming someone's memory, so to speak, someone's mind, someone's memory, and having someone rely on you in that manner. It was quite an experience, and it was just an experience that I realized, like I said, well, there's a lot of people. There are a lot of people who are living a lot longer now,
Mm.
and you know, y- it's just amazing how many people um, you find that are caring for loved ones or who have cared for loved ones with Alzheimer's.
Mm.
Um, of course, there's the Alzheimer's Association and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
And it just really touched me and affected me in such a way that I felt like if I shared my story, which of course was not my story, but her story,
Yeah.
why I called it Janet's story. My
Mm-hmm.
mother's name was Janet.
Yeah.
If I shared this story, that I felt like there might be people who could learn from it.
Right.
There might be people who could relate to it. There might be people who might get some insight, and people. And another thing is that I remember the feeling of isolation.
Mm.
The feeling of being isolated and feeling like misunderstood and feeling like nobody really knew what I was dealing with or going through. As I mentioned, being in the relationship with um, the person that her mother also had Alzheimer's, not really wanting to get into any type of situation or relationship with someone who I felt maybe would not understand what I was dealing with or what I was going through.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a very good friend of mine, very close friend of mine, who said to me one day, she said, Burton, she said, you know, I'm really proud of you and you've really done a lot of great things in your life. And she said, but when I came to your house and I saw you taking care of your mom, you know, and you literally, changing her diapers and I helped you that day change your mom's diapers. And like when I saw you taking care of your mom, she's like, I developed a whole another level of respect for you know.
Absolutely.
And that really meant a lot to me. That
Absolutely.
really meant a lot to me because, here, this it just kind of came out of the blue when I mean, I wasn't, expecting that. And it just meant a lot to me for someone that I knew to basically make that observation.
Absolutely.
And to just understand that was who I was, that I'm, not just who you think I am, that I'm actually was somewhat of a compassionate person, that I, was a dutiful son, whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and as I said before, it wasn't easy um, taking care of a loved one with Alzheimer's. I mean, having to do a lot of the things that I had to do for my mom. Um, it wasn't easy, and
Mm-hmm.
of course, just realizing that she wasn't the same person, and that was, and I know, we're not gonna go on all night
It's
because
okay. It's okay.
I could talk about this
It's
ad
okay.
nauseam, but I think the first real major hurdle that I had to get over with this whole Alzheimer's thing was that I had to get over and accept that I think I was initially very disappointed because she wasn't the same person
Mm.
that I had known all my life,
Right.
you know, and I had to get over that,
Yeah.
and that somewhat disappointment and accept her for who she was becoming,
Yeah.
and become what she needed me to become
Right.
in order to take care of her, you know.
Absolutely.
So that was very, very important. So, as I said before, it was just a journey of mine. And, I know that there are a lot of people who are going through that
Mm-hmm.
journey right now. And, you know, I wrote this book, well, these books rather,
Mm-hmm.
for anyone who might be interested in in first of all, learning a little bit about it, and also secondly, in realizing that they're not alone, because I very
Right.
often felt alone. I felt that misunderstood. I felt like nobody really understood what I was dealing with or going through. I felt like there was nobody I could really talk to. They don't really have like a lot of support groups for
Mm-hmm.
people who are taking care of elderly loved ones with Alzheimer's. And so, and it was a healing journey for me too.
Mm-hmm.
So, and at one point, I when I was writing that book, I kind of thought to myself, like, hey, you know what? It doesn't even matter if nobody ever reads this book, because first and foremost, I'm doing this for me.
Right.
First and foremost, if this book never gets published or nobody ever reads it or whatever, I'm doing this for me. But
Right.
then, hopefully it will help others to heal. And you know what? I've gotten some good reviews so far. I've got some good reviews. The book is kind of big, semi-released. It is on Amazon, but I haven't like done a major release on the book yet, but it is available. And most everyone who's gotten a copy of it, uh, people that I know, and of course many people that I do not know, I've gotten some very good reviews so far. So I'm optimistic.
Sounds good, Q. So, uh, you guys heard it um, from one of the best. He definitely was a treat as far as I'm concerned, because these are conversations we typically would have behind closed doors anyway. So
Oh yeah.
anyone watching, this show today, you were privy to conversations that you typically wouldn't even be able to witness. These are conversations that we have in the barbershop. So we appreciate you joining us today. Obviously, we will have you back. I think our audience will probably want to see you back, because I think we should do maybe like a part two or something, and talk about some of the other chapters, because you brought up some really good points, especially with the what was it? Was it the masculine femininity? Was that the
Oh, the
terminology
toxic
that you
femininity.
coined? Toxic.
The
I'm
toxic
sorry.
femininity. Yeah,
Toxic.
yeah,
I said masculine femininity. Well, that, you know what? That's gonna be my terminology.
yeah. Masculine, feminine, toxic femininity. It's really the same thing.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
really the same thing. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
So yeah, we'll probably have you back. What you think about the show, Tito? What you think?
It was good. Great. Awesome.
That's all you got to say?
It was great.
Okay,
Amazing.
man. Okay, sounds good. So we'll have you back, bro.
Well, I'd love to be back.
And we'll
Love to be-
probably end up doing a panel. But I just wanted to, kind of break up the monotony a little bit and have some more, guys on the show. Because if you saw some of the shows, most of the shows have been female. So it's time to kind of break that up a little bit. But we'll have you on a panel in the future, and we may even bring you back for like another segment, so we can extend this conversation. So we appreciate you, bruh. We appreciate you for coming on the show, and we look forward
cook out
to
clean.
having you again.
You cook out clean.
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
Great.
So thank you guys for tuning in for another episode of If You Cook Out Clean. The content is only getting better, and as you can see, we have very quality people and individuals on this show. We're not gonna slight you. We're not gonna just bring just random people just to have a show. These are individuals who've actually been through life. They are very successful in their own rights, and they have a lot of information to share. So we'll see you guys for the next episode.
Prevent going crazy, time to myself. So I can be. So I can live, or do I lose my voice? Yeah. All of this month, I put everyone first. I know how I get. I know how I get when everything's on my nerves.